After a couple days of feeling like the rug has been pulled out from underneath our feet again, which I knew a recurrence of cancer is a high possibility. It's just when you face it again, it's like, doggone, not again. Not again. How am I going to report this to everybody? But that, I think that was my biggest concern. I didn't want to report it because I didn't want to scare anybody. Hey, Carnivore family, welcome back to Carnivore Quest. For those of you unfamiliar with this face, my name is Cassie. I'm one half of Carnivore Quest. My husband Larry and I are on a journey eating the carnivore diet to get healthy, lose weight, and feel great. We are reclaiming our life. We are in a good groove. I've lost over 80 pounds. My husband's lost over 100 pounds. Slow and steady wins the race. But we're doing it. And this is the first video where I've sat down and discussed lab results with you. I've done it one other time on a live stream and not many people saw it. This was a few years ago. The only reason I go to the doctor anymore, in spite of having a history of cancer and other health issues, is to monitor my thyroid. I do have Hashimoto's hypothyroid disease and I have to get my blood work checked every 6 months. For my returning family members, you are well aware of my history with cancer. For those of you new to the channel, I'm just going to give you a basic breakdown. August of 2016, I was diagnosed with stage 3B sigmoid colon cancer. It had metastasized. I swear I butcher that word every time. It spread to one of my lymph nodes, only one out of like 23, and they were really hopeful that that's all that had happened. Time had went by, I had a PET scan. PET scan came back completely clear. Fantastic. Well, doctors still prescribed 6 months of chemotherapy. Never made sense to me. I'm like, you just told me I'm cancer free. Why am I getting chemotherapy? They told me it was preventative measures. Okay, that still didn't make sense to me. So then the oncologist threw out some numbers to me. He said, well, you have a 50-50 chance of it returning within 3 years without chemotherapy. With chemotherapy, it is 70-30. I was well aware of all the side effects that came with chemotherapy, and I'm looking at quality, not quantity of life at this point. I thought, no way, my fingernails could fall off. I could have neuropathy for the rest of my life, on top of a host of other things. Now, mind you, my mother had colon cancer. Pretty much the same. I think hers was stage 3. She went along with the chemotherapy. Within 10 years, she was dead. But that's not it. It wasn't just the fact that she died. For almost 10 years, she was in and out of the hospital for several days, weeks at a time. She was a really sick woman. I know a lot of people do very well with chemotherapy. I liked my 50-50 odds. I did. Here we are, 7 years later. There's my basic breakdown.
Hey gang, sorry to interrupt you guys. I'm in the middle of editing this video right now. And when Cassie sat down to record it, she had no idea when we would be putting it out. And it just so happens it's the first video in September. And like always, we got to thank our supporters for the month of August from our Buy Me a Coffee page and our channel members. Appreciate you guys. Let's roll the names.
My dad grew up in the Great Depression. Getting his first job at the age of 12, he bought his first motorcycle at 14, and after 20 years of racing, suffering 2 broken backs, dozens of broken ribs, and multiple concussions, he became a world champion.
The first vehicle in is a motorcycle ridden by Larry Berquist, who is so far ahead of the field that the officials can't believe it.
For 4 years, he was the fastest man alive in the open desert.
See any incidents out there? Any problems?
No.
Turn around this way for just a second.
Only one I ever see is Larry Berquist.
Yeah, they're up ahead of you still.
Yeah, we know. We can't keep up with that motorcycle.
He retired from racing the year I was born, but he continued riding until the day he died. I may be a little biased, but in the 20 years since his death, I've never met his equal when it comes to determination and integrity. If he was here today, he would tell all of us 2 things I heard a lot growing up. First, his favorite quote from Winston Churchill: "If you're going through hell, keep going. And then he would say, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. So many of us have felt like failures on our journey to better health, but no longer. This video is dedicated to every single person watching, because like Cassie and I, you felt broken, unfixable, just like this old tree. But instead of staying down, you have decided to get back up and fight.
Thank you from Cassie and I to each and every one of you. That support is really appreciated. And you know, there's 4 ways you can support Carnivore Quest. The number one most effective way is to watch our videos when they come out to the end and hit the like button. If you enjoy Element Electrolytes, using our link is another great way to support us. And of course, heading over to our Buy Me a Coffee page, our digital tip jar. The link's always down in the description if you want to support us that way, or become a channel member, which has its own perks. But any one of those ways is an awesome way to support us, and man, we really appreciate it. So let's get back to Cassie. This is a tough one right here, so let's send it back to her.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Now I have another story for you. 30 years ago, I was a senior in high school, and the American Red Cross came along asking for blood donations, and I happily obliged. They had you fill out a questionnaire, and many of you know, medicine back in the 90s and test results and things of that nature, they took quite some time. You didn't get your results overnight. They didn't come to you through my chart. It was a phone call a week or 2 later, or through letter, something along those lines. It was much different. One thing I failed to disclose, and I didn't even think of this at the time, it had just slipped my mind. I was taking antibiotics for a urinary tract infection. I got a letter from the Red Cross expecting it to be my blood type because I wasn't sure what it was, and they said that that will be coming in the card with my blood type. Instead, it was a letter claiming that I tested positive for HIV. Now, mind you, 1992, HIV, that was a big thing. For a young girl who had just graduated high school, I was absolutely terrified. I was paralyzed, thinking that's it. My life is over. I'm done. I'm done. I'll never get married. I'll never have children. I'm never going to get to experience life. Okay, long story short, it ended up being a false positive. The antibiotics affected the test. I've had a scare with false positives before. Now, you may be asking yourself, why am I talking about this test that happened over 30 years ago? Well, it just goes to show that there are errors and false positives that can occur. Now, recently, I've had my blood work done. That was August 6th. The last testing I had done was November of last year of 22. And my thyroid levels were a little elevated. It was a 12. You know, sometimes I don't always take my medication on time. Sometimes I'm doubling up. For the most part, I'm pretty good. My PCP wanted to increase the dosage back to 137.5. Now, mind you, I was at 225 with an additional pill on Saturday. I'm down to 125. I'm like, there is no way I'm increasing my medication in any way, shape, or form. This diet is supposed to heal it. So when I had to test it again, it's completely normal. It is right smack dab in the middle of normal. I'm going to throw this all up on the screen. My thoughts on this. Now here I am playing Dr. Cassie. I looked up reasons why these values could be elevated. And one of the reasons that popped out and made the most sense to me is dehydration. Now, mind you, at the time, I drink an awful lot of coffee. We're talking more coffee than water. It's pretty sad, actually. And what is coffee? Well, it is a diuretic, and it can dehydrate you. Aha! That is the most likely reason why those numbers are elevated. So let's go on to our lipid panel. Now, my cholesterol was high. The ratio was a little high. I'm going to throw them up here. I'm not worried about this in any way, shape, or form. I've seen other people release their blood work, and their numbers were much higher than that, and months later, they leveled out. So with all that being said, I was very happy with this set of results. You know, that's your basic metabolic panel. It's pretty much what they run for your physical every year. So the next test I would like to talk about was the blood test they use to, it's a marker for cancer. Okay, it's called a CEA, which is carcinoembryonic antigen. If cancer is present, the numbers will be elevated. The normal range of those numbers are anywhere from 0 to 4.7. Now, when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was a 65? I believe so. 68 point something. But CEA doesn't only measure cancer. It also measures whether you have gallstones, if you're experiencing diverticulitis, other types of infections, pancreatitis. The numbers can be elevated for that as well. It also measures thyroid cancer, lung, breast, colon cancer. Well, I wasn't too pleased with the numbers that I had got, and I'm still trying to make sense of it. My number was 19.4. I was paralyzed, absolutely terrified, because I knew that number was extremely high for what it should be. It's always been within normal range, always. That 19, that was really scary. So, of course, I'm thinking end of the world stuff and cancer has returned. That's my immediate thought. But I'll tell you, I beat the odds. I made it 7 years, bonus years as I call them. But yeah, it paralyzed me. A million thoughts were racing in my mind at that time, thinking, how can a carnivore get cancer? I'm almost always in ketosis. Well, that's not necessarily true, and I'm going to explain to you why in a moment. But let me just go back to the emotional aspect of it. I told Larry, and we were absolutely paralyzed for 2 days, thinking, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? First thing the doctor did was referred me to CAT scan and back to oncology. Thought, here we go again. The slew of testing begins again. The worry, the shame. I didn't do carnivore right. After a couple days of feeling like the rug has been pulled out from underneath our feet again, which I knew a recurrence of cancer is a high possibility. It's just when you face it again, it's like, doggone, not again. Not again. How am I going to report this to everybody? But that, I think that was my biggest concern. I didn't want to report it because I didn't want to scare anybody thinking that, carnivore caused cancer. It's the red meat. It's no. Let me go back to my numbers again. 19.4. Okay. According to Prisma and their values, 20 is recurrence of cancer. Now, mind you, it's knocking at that door. I know this. So hear me out. So my diet was clean, almost clean, for 2 months, other than some half and half and butter in my coffee, but that was it. My diet was clean. Well, I decided to try a little recipe. Carnivore pizza. I had a lot of cheese, okay? And not just cheese on the pizza. So old habits had returned. I said, after BBBE, I'm going to make this recipe. It looks absolutely delicious. I'm going to treat myself. I never thought of my lab work. I never thought that it could cause some type of a flag. Now, mind you, nothing has been confirmed. Okay, this is just me and my theory, my semi-educated theory. I just had the one pizza and I didn't eat it all. Little Larry had a few pieces and Big Larry, he had a piece. Yeah, I had cheese in the house. So I ate on cheese for about 4 days, consuming probably 1.5 pounds.
That's a lot of cheese.
That's a lot of cheese, if not more, over the course of 4 days, which was about 3 days before my lab work. You see where I'm going? It definitely created a reaction. Okay, my intestines were all messed up. I was in pain. I was bloated. So let's think about this. So hear me out. So I'm slightly dehydrated from coffee, lack of water. Dehydration can affect your blood work. It can elevate blood work. Red blood cell count. Sound familiar? Hemocrat. It didn't say anything about a CEA because that is not a typical test. But your red blood cell, your hemocrat, hemoglobin, things of that nature, they're pretty standard. Now I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense because I have abnormal plumbing, okay, and it's not going to work like a normal person. Okay, I'm always going to have issues. The toilet, the toilet and I were always going to be best friends. We're always going to spend a lot of time together. One reason I never wanted to get back on carnivore because it's very hard on my system. So my theory, I had so much dairy. It caused an inflammatory response in my large intestine. Well, actually, all of my intestines, because I was hurting for almost a week. Almost a week after I ate all that pizza and all that cheese. I was hurting bad. Nothing I've ever experienced before. Not like that. Inflammatory bowel disease. Okay, CEA can detect whether you have something going on there. Now, maybe I've not been diagnosed with it. It almost makes sense because of all the work that I've had done. So I'm thinking that I had a reaction. Dummy me, even though my gut instinct said, you know, gosh, what did you do? You made this pizza. A light bulb went off and said, oh man, this is going to mess up your test results. And I was just thinking with my my thyroid. It was too late for me to reschedule because it would have been under 24 hours and I would have been charged. So there it was, you know, that was the deciding factor that I was going to go and get this blood work done. I thought there was no way I'm going to be charged. I was supposed to have a CAT scan done yesterday. I canceled it. About a week before my vacation, I called my doctor and I asked her if I could wait 2 months because I'm going to do Lion. I'm going to give up coffee, all of it. It's going to be Lion and it's going to suck. September 1st. Although I should probably be doing this right now. You're probably thinking, well, gosh, if you think you have cancer again, why aren't you doing it again? Listen, you worry about you, okay? I'm my own best advocate. I'd already planned this vacation. There's no way I was going to cancel it. And there was no way I was going to stick to BBB. I wanted some different flavor. I wasn't ketovore the whole time. I never had a salad. I had some coleslaw like twice. Some things that I probably shouldn't have had that were borderline, I don't even want to call it sad. You know, I did really well on my vacation considering where I was, and I know how I am and the damage I could have done because I've done it before. I asked my doctor if we could test my numbers in 2 months in the beginning of November. I said, why don't we go ahead and check the CEA in 2 months and let's not do the CAT scan. Well, she didn't think that was a good idea. And she said, no, I think you really need to get the CAT scan. And then you need to go see the oncologist, and then we'll take it from there. I thought, why am I going to put myself through all of this? Because in 2016, before my PET scan, there were spots on my liver. And of course, I'm thinking, great, now I have cancer of the liver. Well, PET scan came back free and clear. So that doesn't mean anything. CAT scan doesn't mean anything. It just means that they're going to do a deeper dive. So if it's thyroid cancer or breast cancer or even lung cancer, that's not my abdomen. That's where the CAT scan would have been. So let's say they found nothing, they did another test, and then the numbers are elevated. Okay, well, let's wait another 3-4 weeks and let's do another CAT scan. Listen, that's an awful lot of radiation, okay? There is a reason I didn't go through chemotherapy. There is a reason I don't want to get a mammogram. I've refused so many vaccines. I refused so much testing. Larry had a colonoscopy go wrong. We'll explain that some other time, and he ended up needing emergency surgery. So I knew all of this stuff was a real possibility. My body had already been through so much in the last year, you know, ruptured appendix with bowel resection, July of 2015, August of 2016, sigmoid colon cancer. I've had a lot of body parts removed, and I'm not too keen on going underneath a knife. And if you look in the doctor's notes, I explained to her, I've had a lot of cheese. I also explained to her that I'm not going under the knife again. I said, look, this is it. I'm not getting anything else done because she's pushing the mammogram. She's pushing this and she's pushing that. I do have an appointment with oncology. I don't know if I'm going with it. And I'm not so sure the doctor is going to want to test my CEA again after being referred to oncology. Red flags were raised. That's the reason I'm giving up my coffee in September. I did try yesterday or the day before, and I went 1 day without coffee. Well, I had coffee today with cream and butter, and I'm hoping that ribeyes help satisfy my craving and get my mindset to where this is for healing, because I'm not going through with any of that. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to get any more testing. I'm not going under the knife again. I'm not going to go with their BS agenda. I'm not their guinea pig, and I'm not their moneymaker. It's really sad those oncology centers, they herd people in and out of there like cattle. People are weak and they're feeble, and it's just, they're a shell of who they used to be. And there's nothing but sadness and depression in there. It's awful. It is absolutely awful. I don't want to be in that environment again, especially with all this nonsense with the CVID happening again. The mask mandates are happening again. Schools are already closing, and our president is now recommending a new vaccine. No, I don't trust the system. I don't trust Big Pharma. I do not trust Big Food Corps, super mega big food corps, and I certainly don't trust our medical system. I just don't. And if it weren't for that thyroid medication, like I said, I would not go back. But I've tried getting off of it before, and I didn't do it properly. And let me tell you something, folks, it's ugly. It's absolutely necessary. I'm hopeful that carnivore, now I'm going to get real strict here. For how long, I don't know. I'm going to give it a solid 30 days before I go get my CEA tested again. If I have to find a new doctor, so be it. I don't care if I have to walk into an urgent care. And yeah, that's how I'm going to handle it. Is it the smartest thing? I don't know. Am I being reckless? Perhaps. But it's my life. And you don't have to agree with my decisions, because you're not the one who has to live in this body. And I don't encourage anybody to do what I'm doing. Okay, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. And I know enough to know what's best for me. And it's not going to see an oncologist again. And it's not getting a CAT scan and then another test and another and so on and so forth. And then biopsies, blah. No. If the C word has returned, has given me 4 bonus years. I believe that, even with my stumbles, keto and carnivore. I've been carnivore almost 3 years with a handful of stumbles. Keto, 3 years prior to that. It was actually cancer that brought me to it. So I believe it's given me my bonus years. And not just bonus years. I'm healthy for the most part. I'm a little tired sometimes. Now that could be my thyroid. I don't know. I'm postmenopausal. I've got a lot of things that are working against me. I'm pretty sure that my metabolism is almost dead. I wouldn't say dead, but it's slow. It runs slow. So anyway, the moral of the story is, senior in high school, false red flag came up and it paralyzed me. And it was just that, a false positive. It wasn't anything. Now let's fast forward 31 years. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been out of high school for 31 years. But let's fast forward, and here we are again. I went back to being paralyzed, although technology can get you results a little bit faster. Like, I got it literally the next day. So all I can do is pray. If it's my time, it's my time. Like I said, I'm not going under the knife unless it's emergency, unless it's something that's acute and I'm in so much pain, then okay, maybe. But for something that I'm 99% sure, pure carnivore, now we're talking chafy carnivore, we're talking water, salt, and meat. That's it. Although I am going to add some eggs, because I believe it's quite possibly one of the most nutrient dense foods you can find. It's the whole chicken before it was pumped with a bunch of carrageenan. If you can find a good source. My egg dealer's pretty good. He's solid. Yeah. So my diet's going to be really clean. It's been pretty clean for the most part. Old Cass would definitely have gone off the rails for just one more cheat meal or one more cheat week. FOMO. Let me just get one more pizza. Let me make one more pizza. Let me have one more piece of cake before I go on this super strict diet. It's not been that way. So I've been in training for a few years and I'm quite certain I can do it. I'm not looking forward to it. Okay. I like my food. I like variety. I like different textures. Mine's not it. But, I am going to look at these results as a wake-up call. It was a slap in the face. And I'm going to look at it as it's possible the cancer is growing. Now, I've been watching Dr. Seyfried and listening to his podcasts, and it's been very eye-opening. Now, if it is there, it's been growing very slowly. And I will also be implementing fasting because you want your ketones high and your glucose very low. And I believe that the glucose is going to be really low anyway once the coffee and the cream is gone. When there's no more dairy, there won't be any more insulin spikes. Not like that. And with the coffee being gone, it's no longer disrupting my mitochondria, which is essential for good cell health. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm going to do it my way, just as I always have. There it is in a nutshell. I'm not sure if I'll have my blood work tested, like I said, another month. It might even be 2 months. We'll see what happens. But this is what I'm dealing with now, and it's taken me a little while to get these results to you because it has been a worry. What do y'all think? Have you ever had a false positive, or, you know, something that, a test that has brought you to your knees only to find out that they were wrong? Am I alone here in this fight? I don't think so. Y'all let me know down in the comments. What do you think? Am I crazy? It's okay. Fly that freak flag and let me know what you think. It's okay, because I know what I'm doing, and you can't sway my decision in any way, shape, or form. But I figured we should be transparent, and I owe it to you to let you know what's going on. We'll see what happens. All I know is I'm alive, well, and living in America today. I'm thankful for every breath that I take, the smile on my face. I'm thankful for all of y'all. And life is good, even though it's a little scary right now, but it's really good. And we'll see what happens. I am confident, so much that I am willing to bet my life on it, that I'm right. They've been wrong before, and I've been right before. We'll see, folks. Fingers crossed, or fingers crossed, because that's where I get my strength. Keep looking up.
Having trouble with cravings? Check out this next video. It will entertain you while teaching you the power of the BBBE challenge.